Welcome to How to Lead the Ultimate Discovery Sales Meeting. My name is Mike Faherty. I will be your host and presenter today. And our goal for today is to help you understand how to better lead sales discovery meetings that will drive new business sales pipeline. As I mentioned, my name is Mike Faherty, and I am the owner of ProSales Connection. And ProSales Connection is a sales and marketing agency located just outside of Houston, Texas. We work with B2B technology companies to help them build sales pipeline. And so today I wanted to share with you that you're in the right place if you have a sales development team that schedules sales meetings for maybe an account sales team, or you have a sales team of professionals that are responsible for turning initial sales meetings into qualified sales pipeline, or maybe you're an individual salesperson yourself in a solution selling environment, and your responsibility is to have those first meetings with technology or B2B type companies, and turn those first meetings into new prospects and new opportunities for the company. So if you're one of those people, that sounds like you're absolutely in the right place. And you're probably here because you want to lead more effective discovery meetings. You want to use more of a consultative approach to the way that you're leading your discovery meetings, and you want to more quickly determine if there's a real opportunity and if it's an opportunity worth winning. Not every opportunity that we come across is worth our energy, is worth trying to win. So being able to really understand if the opportunity is a qualified opportunity is something you should be determining within the context of the discovery meeting. So we're going to talk about some strategies for how to do that so that you make better use of your selling time. So why is this webinar important information for you now? Look, sales leaders are being asked to do more with fewer resources. That seems to be a constant battle. It seems to be something that's been going on for the last 20 years. There's a constant drive towards improving efficiency and doing more with less. And so if you find yourself in that situation, now's the time to really hone in and fine tune your discovery meeting process. Let's say you can't afford to miss opportunities by not uncovering prospects' needs. Like maybe you get a limited number of opportunities. Maybe you have a really high value solution that you're selling, and maybe you don't get that many at bats. And you have to make sure that every single opportunity that you get a chance to engage with, that you're uncovering the highest and the biggest opportunity within that customer. And then finally, you need to ensure your sales teams are not working phantom deals. Look at sales leaders, business owners. There's a lot of times salespeople are engaged in opportunities that are just not real. There's not really a strong enough or compelling enough reason for making a decision, and they spend a lot of time because they haven't fully qualified the opportunity during this discovery process. I want to show you today how in your very first meeting, you can determine whether or not this is a deal that you want to continue to pursue. So that's what we'll talk about today. Just a little bit more about ProSales Connection. We were founded in 2009. We've helped customers in the B2B technology world develop over $1 billion in sales pipeline over the last 12 years. We've probably made over 2 million cold calls in the last 12 years, and we're 100% invested in our clients' growth. We're really growth strategists that deploy agency resources to help our clients achieve the growth that they desire. So we do that through a process that we call the fastest path to revenue. It's really a system that we've developed over the last number of years, and have refined it with conclusive data-driven inputs and decisions that we use to help us sort of refine our sales process and our marketing strategies that we deploy for customers. We've designed B2B campaigns for all kinds of B2B companies that sell complex or technical solutions. That may be software as a service, it might be hardware products, it might be high-level consultative solutions, financial services, or even biotech. And we take a full funnel approach with a real emphasis around the middle of the funnel, and we're really designed to try to generate a predictable pipeline strategy that will give you perpetual growth for your business. All right, so how to lead the ultimate discovery sales meeting. That's what we're here to talk about today. So let's start with what is a discovery sales meeting. So what is the discovery meeting? The purpose of a discovery meeting is to learn about your client's challenges, issues, opportunities, and priorities. What is it that's top of mind for them? What are they trying to achieve? Understand that, and then do your best to try to align your solutions to their known challenges. You're trying to uncover what they need to accomplish and skillfully begin to align your solutions to those challenges, given your product or service or solution. So if an opportunity is identified, your goal is to know the answers to the Bant questions. Most of you have probably heard of Bant: budget, authority, need, and time frame. Within the context of the discovery meeting, ideally you are going to identify each one of these elements and make sure that each of these elements meet your selling criteria. If they don't have enough budget to support your solution, you need to figure that out early on. If you're selling to the wrong person within the organization, it's critical that you determine that early in the sales process. If there is no pressing need, there is no priority for making a decision, it's important to understand whether or not now is the right time to engage in a full-blown sales campaign against this customer, or you need to put them in a nurturing process and follow up with them in 6 months or a year or 2 years. All right. So the first step in the process is always preparation. You need to review your notes, research the company, research the attendees, and prepare thoughtful and targeted questions. So if your meeting was set for you by someone else, you need to make sure that you've read through and understand the notes that have been provided. Ask questions if necessary to make sure that you've got a really clear understanding of the conversation that led to the meeting getting scheduled. You need to research the company. Read through the company's website. Look for information about the leadership team, the products that they sell, and who they're sold to. You should have a basic understanding before the meeting, and don't make assumptions. You need to know how this company makes money. If you can't describe in just a couple sentences how the company makes money, you haven't done enough research on the company. So go to the investor section of the company's website. See if there's a quarterly or annual statement that's been posted. A lot of times this document includes a short letter at the beginning from the CEO that explains recent past performances, as well as long-term priorities and visions for the business. It should also give you insight into where they're making investments. So where are they putting their money right now? Where are they focused? What markets and what solutions or what strategies are they employing? Ideally, you want to figure out what those high-level priorities are and begin to think of, how do I align our solution, my company's solution, to the existing priorities as laid out by the CEO or the chairman of the board. You need to research the attendees of your meeting. Use the company website, use social media platforms like LinkedIn. We've got more information available to us about people than we've ever had before. It's easier than ever. There's no excuse not to have reviewed the profiles of every single person that you expect to be in the meeting. Understand their titles, know how long they've worked at the company and where they worked before. See if you have any common connections, and be prepared to use the connections to build rapport with the customer whenever you start the meeting. Keep an eye out for people that might have a conflicting priority or stand to lose if your solution is purchased. Is there someone in the room who might have a conflicting priority, might not want to see your solution implemented? I remember one time I was leading a meeting, and I took the time to really go around the room, even though it was a large meeting. There was probably 11 or 12 people in the room. I took a moment just to quickly go around the table, just to make sure I understood who was there and who was who. And sure enough, by the time I got to the end of the process, there was one person who was looking a little squirrely in their seat. I thought it was, kind of interesting. I could tell by the person's body language that they were getting some anxiety as we were going around the room. And by the time I got to them, I found out the person introduced themselves as the incumbent vendor. Someone had invited the person that I was trying to replace, the service, or actually it was a service that I was trying to replace. Someone had invited the vendor from that company to the meeting. It was really, really important to understand that before I started my presentation. If I didn't know that that person was in the room, I might have handled that presentation completely differently. So understand who's in the room and do your research before you get started. And then finally, make sure that you've prepared some really thoughtful questions. Use your research and draft 2 or 3 really well-informed, open-ended questions. You'll use the questions to start conversations in the right direction, and then you can fall back into these if the conversation stalls or you feel the urge to start pitching before it's time. Write the questions down, have them in front of you, have them directly in front of you so that you can reference them quickly and you don't get lost. The quality of those 2 or 3 well thought out questions might make or break the meeting in and of itself, and will certainly go a long way in presenting yourself as a credible, authoritative source for the company that you're trying to do business with. All right, so now you're prepared. So it's time to open this meeting. First of all, always check for time. It goes without saying that you should start the meeting on time. And by the way, if you're delayed and won't be able to make the meeting on time, you've got caught in traffic or something's happened, or if it's a virtual meeting, you've been delayed or you're having a technical problem, send an email or call the customer as soon as you possibly can and let them know that you'll be late. As soon as you're certain that you're going to be late, you must make them aware. That is just 101. If you disrespect their time, they're not going to take you seriously. Okay, so the meeting is getting started. It's always polite to open the meeting with some friendly chat before launching straight into your agenda. But just be careful. Don't take too long to get started. In today's business world, everyone is extremely, extremely busy. So respect their time. Also pay attention to the room. Hey, if listen for the tone and the body language of the attendees, and they will tell you when it's time to get started. Okay, so take a minute though. A little friendly chit chat can really just kind of put people at ease and help you ease into your agenda. So now it's time to start. Start the meeting by thanking the participants for taking time. Look, they're busy people. People are more busy than they've ever been. So take the time, thank them for taking time out of their schedule to meet with you. Outline your objective. Cover your agenda. Walk through your agenda. If you're using slides for the meeting, have an agenda slide that's prepared. This will put everyone at ease knowing that you will eventually get to your solutions, but first, you need to know more about them. We're going to be asking lots of questions and doing a lot of discovery, which is really an investigation. And if the customer is generally going to be willing to go on that journey with you, if they know that on the agenda you are very clearly going to get to your solution, they will be patient with you and engage. But if they think, hey, am I ever going to know what this guy is about or what they're offering? They may resist giving you the answers that you need because they're starting to doubt whether or not they're going to get anything out of the meeting. So make sure they know that that's coming. Make sure to let them know that you've taken time to prepare by reviewing your notes, the notes that were taken from either the initial call that you made to set up the meeting or the initial call that someone else had whenever they set up the meeting with you. So let them know that you've taken the time to review that. You're not starting from scratch. They're not going to have to repeat anything they've shared with either someone else or with you. You should start the meeting with a very high-level overview of your company and yourself. If you're using slides, again, this should be no more than maybe one slide. And take no more than just a couple minutes. Simply hit the high points. Your name, the title, maybe how long you've been with the company. Then just talk a little bit about the business. Where are you located? How long has the company been in business? And then what is your value proposition? And who do you do business with? Examples of maybe some of your customers. On the screen here, you see just a sample opening. Thank you for agreeing to spend some time with me this afternoon. I'm excited to learn about your organization, and I'll certainly share with you more about our experience and capabilities as it relates to your specific business. But before we get started, I'm sure you have some questions about me and our company. We're based in Houston. We have been for 12 years. We work with clients like General Electric and Hewlett Packard, and we help them solve these common business problems and maybe name those problems out. We've been with the company, I've been with the company, since it started in 2009, and I am the CEO, and I'm responsible for the overall growth of the company. Obviously, you spoke with someone on my team last Tuesday, and I understand that she shared with you a little, at least a high-level information about our company on that call. I want you to know I met with her. Shortly after that call, she briefed me on the information that you were able to share with her as well, and that was really, really helpful. So thank you very much for doing that. If you started the meeting like that, you're going to put everyone at ease. They know who you are, why you're there, why they're taking time to meet with you. Remember, a lot of times one person has agreed to the meeting and then has arranged it for other people to attend. They may not have as good an understanding of why they were included in this meeting. Maybe the person that invited them from the inside their company didn't really do a good job of explaining, what the objective of the meeting was. So taking the time to sort of set the stage for what you're going to be doing is really, really important and worth taking a couple minutes to do. All right, so now it's time to jump into the discovery conversation. So your goal for the beginning of the meeting is to get the prospect talking. You want to ask questions, listen, and learn. Keep in mind that Bant elements that we talked about before: budget, authority, need, and time frame. Make sure that you've got a strategy for how you're going to uncover those elements during this phase of the meeting. Ideally, you'll spend maybe a half to 2/3 of the meeting listening and learning. I think as long as you can delay getting into quote unquote pitching and stay in discovery mode for this first meeting, the better off you're going to be. My goal is always at least 2/3 of the meeting. So if it's an hour-long meeting, I want to spend the first 40 minutes understanding. And I know that 20 minutes will be plenty of time for me to start to engineer a solution and sort of engineer a vision for the future working with my company. Resist the temptation to solve the problems or to explain your solution. Look, you're going to hear things from the customer that are going to be total softballs. There's going to be something they're going to say, well, this is a real problem for us. And you're going to know, I know exactly how to solve that. That's exactly what we do. Resist the temptation. Make a note, make a clear note, circle it, underline it. You're going to get to it, but don't disrupt the flow of discovery by starting to sell. If you do that too soon, you'll limit their scope of what they are willing to share with you. They'll start to go down a rabbit hole. They'll start to close off a little bit and start heading in one direction. You want to uncover opportunities in potentially multiple areas of the business or multiple challenges that they're dealing with, so you can layer your solution. So don't get excited when you hear the first problem that you know how to solve. Resist the temptation, make a note, and keep asking your questions. You want to ask prepared and well thought out, open-ended questions that really start the discussion in an area that is important to you, but it's not a direct qualifying question. You don't want to ask direct, closed qualifying questions. We want to start open-ended discussions in the areas that are important to you. You're setting the tone for the meeting and putting yourself in control of the dialogue. That's what we're trying to do at this stage. All right. So conversation starters. One way to start a conversation is to just clarify something. So before we get started, I was reviewing my notes, reviewing your website, reading your quarterly report, whatever it might be, and I saw that you provided this product or service to such and such company. Can you tell me more about this? Can you explain how your specific group within the organization supported this activity? Would you mind elaborating on that briefly? Just try to get them to clarify something. You're going to do two things with a question like this. First, you're again demonstrating I'm prepared. I've researched your company. I know what you guys are doing. I want to get you talking in a certain direction. So I'm going to ask a clarifying question just to get them to elaborate. But I'm also letting them know very clearly, I'm prepared. I know your business. I've done my research. I just need some more details from you. Another conversation starter is a qualifying the prospect type direction. So that might sound like, before we get started, I read your profile on the website and I understand your title is Director of Technology. I wonder if you wouldn't mind telling me a little more about your responsibilities and how you're involved in this area of the business. Get that person to talk about what their responsibilities are and what their priorities are and how they might relate to other areas of the business that you're interested in. A lot of times by asking a question like this, you're going to determine that, hey, I'm selling to someone that's maybe too low in the organization to really make a decision. If you can uncover that quickly enough and early enough in the conversation, then you can spend some time exploring maybe how that person relates to the person that you ultimately think that you need to be in front of. What is their relationship like? How do they relate? Do they report to them directly? Are they on the same team with that person? So just spending some time understanding who you're presenting to. This is obviously in a one-on-one setting. Even if it's a small group setting, there may be people in the room that are not quite on point for you, or maybe no one in the room is on point for you, in trying to figure out what the responsibilities and the priorities are for each of the people that you're presenting to or meeting with, can help you figure out, where do I go from here? Another conversation starter is maybe a more generic opening. I like to talk about this in terms of something's gone wrong and you're not prepared. So maybe something happened. The meeting got somehow put on your schedule and you didn't see it. And now you find yourself walking into a meeting and you're just not prepared at all. You haven't been able to do the research on the attendees. You haven't been able to do any research on the company itself and what their priorities are. So in this case, you might start with something generic, like, like I mentioned before, I'll take you through our capabilities today, but I hope you wouldn't mind if we started by asking you just to give me a high-level overview of your business. I find that websites don't always tell the real story of a business. Would you mind? So when you're successful here, you will have demonstrated that you've put some thought in preparing for this call while uncovering issues or pain points in the business that you can help with, or at least giving them the impression that you've got that work done. You want to keep the conversation going by asking who, what, where, when, why, and how questions. If you can ask a couple follow-up questions to every sort of open-ended conversation starter question, you're likely to uncover information from the prospect that they had no idea that they were going to share with you. And again, resist the urge here to start telling them how you're going to solve their problem. Just keep asking questions and keep understanding the problem. It's very easy, especially when you've been caught off guard and you're not fully prepared, to just talk about yourself. But you have to be skillful enough in the art of investigation and discovery and questioning to be able to have a conversation even if you're not prepared, and to get the prospect to talk about the things that are relevant to your solution and not presenting or pitching too early in the conversation. All right, so you want to keep the conversation moving. As I mentioned, the 5 W's and an H: who, what, where, when, why, and how. Asking follow-up questions are going to be really important. Oftentimes what I'll do in a discovery meeting is I will actually write those words: who, what, where, when, why, and how. I'll write them on the margin of my notepad where I'm going to be taking notes during the meeting. And it's just a prompt for me, and almost a game that I play with myself, that after I ask a question, I listen to their response, I challenge myself to ask at least one more question from that list. So I'll just pick a word, who, and I'll think to myself, okay, what would I want to know about who? I might say, who wants that fixed? Or maybe a what question might sound like, what does it cost the business? Or you might ask, where did the problem start? Or when does it need to be completed by? Why hasn't this been changed yet? How have people tried to fix it in the past? Asking those questions is going to help you uncover information, again, like I mentioned, that the prospect probably had no intention of ever sharing with a vendor on the first meeting. By the way, the same thing holds true for interviews. Those of you who are hiring managers, asking those 2 questions as a follow-up to an open-ended question will likely get the candidate to share stuff that they may have never imagined that they would share in an interview. All right. So because I'm so passionate about questioning and investigating within the context of the discovery meeting, I've created a free resource for anyone on this call today. So if you'd like to get a copy of our discovery questions resource, it's got scripts for opening discovery meetings, 35 plus powerful discovery questions, strategies for flipping objections into a conversation starter, and it even includes some tips for executing cold calls for a complex solution. So if that's something that you think you'd like to have as a resource for you, I think you'll get tons of value from it. Just send me an email and just put in the subject line combo. I don't need anything else. I'm happy to hear what you're planning to do with it, or if you have other questions, please feel free to include those. But if you just send me an email with combo in the subject line, I will fire off that document for you to keep as a resource and share with your team. I think it's really useful. All right. So now we've done our discovery. We've listened. We've asked tons of questions. Now it's time we move into the vision engineering phase. So after you've identified a couple significant problems and really fully understand the issue, it's time to start engineering a vision of the problem being fixed with your solution. So there's a number of different ways that problem might be solved. They've got a problem. They likely have an idea in mind. It might be the reason they agreed to meet with you. It might not be. There may be someone in the room that already feels like they know the answer, that they're going to hire some extra people to solve that problem, or they're going to build some custom software to solve that problem, or they're going to outsource to a third party to manually solve the problem, or they're going to buy a piece of equipment to solve the problem. And then you come along and you've listened to the problem and you have a different idea about how they may solve it. So now it's time to really engineer a vision around your solution and how you could help them potentially solve that problem, and help support that idea with why it might be the best solution for them to consider. So now we got to transition to the solution part of the conversation. As I mentioned, ideally you're going to spend the first 2/3 of your meeting really talking about the customer, asking questions, doing discovery. Now we're in that final third to final quarter of the meeting, and we've got to talk about our solution. So one way to start that conversation is to say, hey, thanks for sharing that information with me. What I heard from you is that you really have 3 significant challenges today. The first is X, the second is Y, and finally I heard Z. As you were discussing your challenges, with the first option, I was reminded of the work that we did at ABC Client. They were in a similar situation. Does that sound familiar to you? So kind of get them, you want to show them, okay, we're going to take each one of these problems that I heard from you that are relevant to my solution, and I'm going to start building a case for how I can help you solve each one of those 3 problems. And I'm not going to get into the speeds and feeds of the solution. What I'm going to do is start to paint a picture about how we've helped other people solve a similar problem. Now this requires some, you got to be a pro here. Look, this is not for the faint of heart. You need to know your case studies. You need to know why your clients have done business with your company. You need to know why your colleagues who are managing other accounts, why they're managing those accounts and why those accounts are doing business with your company. What problems they have. It should be sort of standard operating procedure within sales organizations to do debriefs with the entire sales team. Taking a moment, maybe on a weekly call, to highlight a win, what the problem was that the client was dealing with, how they were considering solving the problem, and then how the salesperson at your company positioned your solution to meet the needs of the customer, and why they decided to choose that as their go-forward plan, and why they decided to do business. That should be a part of the ongoing sort of cadence of the sales team. Nonetheless, you know that information, and now your job is to try to articulate through case studies how other organizations who had similar challenges as the prospect you're speaking with right now, how they used your solution to solve those problems. So now stick to the pain points that you've uncovered. Get them to acknowledge that they're open to considering a new solution to resolve that issue. Don't tell them about everything you can do. Just tell them about what you can help them solve. As you present, the potential solutions to each of the challenges, you should be checking in for agreement, in alignment along the way. Things like, does it make sense? Can you see your business taking those steps? If you could demonstrate how an investment would be recovered, if I could demonstrate how an investment would be recovered in 6 or 12 months, would your business entertain that solution? You're trying to check in with them that, yeah, they could at least imagine, they can see a world where using your solution to solve that particular problem makes sense for them, and they can see themselves going in that direction. You're not asking for a commitment. You're just asking for that they're open to considering that as a potential solution. A lot goes into successfully presenting your solution during this phase of the meeting. You must understand the problem. You got to get them to agree that it is a problem, and explain how you recommend solving each one of those problems, and quantify the impact of your solution on the business in real terms. The impact could be, a financial impact, like saving money or generating more revenue. The impact could be, a personal impact, like maybe getting a promotion or keeping their job or making their job easier or more pleasant. Look, people make buying decisions based on personal motivations. It's completely reasonable that someone might make a decision because it's going to make them look good. So understand that that's a driver, and help them understand how you can help them achieve that. There could be other quantifiable impacts that are less about the bottom line, like customer or employee satisfaction or even safety. So consider all the different drivers for how a decision could be justified, and make sure that you're aligning your solution to at least one of those really measurable drivers. That will make your solution all the more compelling. All right, so next steps. So we've started our meeting. We've prepared with questions to get the conversation started. We've drilled down into these open-ended questions with more closed-ended questions to really nail down what solutions they would consider or how they're considering solving the problems. Now you have a really clear picture of what the challenges are and what the priorities are for the business. Then you articulate your solution and how we'll help them solve each one of those specific challenges, and what the business driver might be for using your solution to solve it. Now it's time to sort of wrap things up. We need to talk about what the next steps are. So you want to secure the next steps before you conclude the meeting, obviously. Don't accept, we'll get back to you or give me a call next week. These are deal killers. They'll slow the sales process down by turning the power over to the prospect. You have to maintain control at this critical moment within the meeting. Based on what we've discussed today, it seems like our solution could be a perfect fit for your business. I'd like to put together a summary of what we've discussed today, including our recommendations for your consideration. When's a good time for you and the other decision makers that might need to be involved to meet so that we can share what we've come up with, as a result of this conversation today? That might be, a way to sort of pin them down. Let them know that we're going to put some work into this, and the next step in the process is we're going to come back to you and really present what we think is a potential strategy for moving forward. Remember, if you're not dealing with the final decision maker, you need to get that person in the room. You need to bring them into this process. So one of the best ways I've found for asking that question is, besides yourself, who else should be involved in this discussion, or who else should I be sending an invitation to? Give them a little credibility that they're a critical part of the process, and just give them an opportunity to include someone else. And they may tell you, yeah, sure, at this stage, we probably need to bring my boss into this. If you ask that person directly, so will this be your decision? Which sounds like the right thing to do, and there's 1,000 books that will tell you, you need to nail down and ask that question straightforward so that you get a clear answer. The person is going to be tempted to mislead you because they want to save face. They don't want to seem like they don't have the authority. So if you ask them, hey, are you the person that's going to make the final decision on this? A lot of times they'll say yes when it's not exactly true. But if you were to say to that person, hey, I understand that you're involved in this process, who else might need to be included? Who else will be involved in making the final decision? That's a really easy way for them to say, yeah, I'm a big part of this, but ultimately, my boss may need to get involved at some point. Okay, great. So now we've uncovered that. I've given them an opportunity to save face and give me the information that I need. You want to try to get not only that financial decision maker, but you want to try to get the technical buyers and the critical users into the discussion as well. You might even want to get those, the power users, the people that are actually going to put their hands on the solution. You might want to get them involved at this stage in the process. If one of those decision makers or influencers that you've identified is resistant to the change, you need to work to get a separate meeting with them to understand how they will be impacted and help them become a part of the new vision, if possible. So understanding who might not really want to do this, and then work through, pardon the expression, through the back channels to try to communicate with that person, maybe get a one-on-one with them to really fully understand. A lot of times just knowing that they've been heard and that the challenges that they think this new solution is going to bring to them have been recognized and acknowledged is enough to get them on board with the process. Plus, it gives you an opportunity to, in a one-to-one setting, help them understand maybe something they misunderstand. Help them understand that this actually will make their life better, or how improving their skill sets will make them more marketable in the marketplace. Now you can address their specific concern and their specific objection in a way that's relevant to them, out of the watchful eye of their supervisor or their colleagues or their or the rest of the decision-making committee. It's really important to try to get that conversation offline. All right, so now it's time to close the meeting. So first of all, we got to finish this meeting on time. That's critically important. Finish on time. If you think that you're going to go over your time, you need to check in with them as early as you recognize that you're probably going over, and let them know, hey, look, I feel like maybe we're going to need an extra 5 or 10 minutes to wrap this up completely. We had such a great discussion early on. Does anyone have a hard stop? Do I need to finish right at the top of the hour, or is everyone flexible enough? Do I have 10 minutes to sort of wrap this up? And just understand that they may say, look, I've got a hard stop. Then hey, I've got to try to get with the program here and move quickly. So finish on time, but make sure that you check in on time if you think you're running long. Obviously, always thank them for their time and reiterate that you are confident your solution will help them solve their business challenge or the business issue or the business opportunity that you guys have been discussing. Restate the action items for both sides, not only your action items, but things that maybe they committed to do or to send you. Maybe they were going to send you a report. Maybe they were going to send you examples or samples or whatever it might be. Make sure that you've documented and restated in conclusion what responsibilities or action items they're taking away from the meeting. And then exit stage left, you're done. All right, so now you've run your whole meeting. Is it all over? Well, of course it's not over. We got to do some follow-up, right? So I want to share with you, just kind of as a bonus here in the last couple of minutes, some strategies for follow-up that I think are really, really effective, okay? This is a critical step in the process. The idea here is, one of the ideas is to make a quick call the next day to say thank you for taking the time to meet. This is a very short call. You should expect to get voicemail. I wouldn't ever expect for the person that you're trying to reach to pick up the phone every single time, but you simply want to convey to them that your appreciation for the meeting. Summarize the action items that you took away from the meeting again, both their action items as well as yours, and let them know that an email will follow the next day. And make sure that if you make this self-imposed deadline, if you tell them, I'm going to send you a follow-up email tomorrow with more of my thoughts about what we discussed and potential solutions for you to consider, you have to hit that deadline. But don't start your relationship by missing deadlines or misleading the customer. If you say, I'm going to send you an email tomorrow, you must send the email tomorrow. There's no excuse for that. I don't care how late you have to stay at the meeting, that email needs to go out. So don't start the relationship by missing a deliverable. Okay. Step 2 is send that follow-up letter. This is going to be a short email to clarify your understanding and maybe your preliminary recommendation. So I'll share with you briefly what the format of that letter might look like. So it's going to follow this basic structure. It's going to be, it's going to be pretty detailed. You want it to be succinct. I would shoot for 1 to 2 pages at the most. I know that sounds incredibly long in today's world, but if someone's trying to make a decision on a high value, expensive, critical solution to their business, then taking 5 minutes to read through a page or 2 may not be too much to ask. If they can't be bothered to read through a page, they may not be fully qualified. So consider that as well. It's going to be a detailed letter. Like I said, it's going to shoot for 1 to 2 pages. Make sure that your contact understands that it's a living document, and that they're encouraged to edit and clarify any of the details of the letter. You want to put as much information into this letter as you can, staying obviously on topic and into the scope of what you discussed with them, but you want to give them enough detail so there's some meat to the content or to the body of your letter. You want to cover all the content recommendations that you've made in your previous meetings, and let them know that you may have had to make some assumptions along the way. I think it's perfectly okay as long as you acknowledge that the assumptions were made, and just ask them to validate your assumptions. It gives them an opportunity to engage with the document. Remember, we want this to kind of be a living thing. A lot of times, you might consider using something like a Google Doc where you can just share the document with them and they can make edit or notes in the margins, so you can start to get an idea of maybe what areas you've really got right and maybe some other areas where your assumptions might have been wrong. Finally, this letter of understanding, it's going to chuck the wheels. Okay, that's the way I like to describe it. The idea here is it serves to capture decisions that have already been made and move the deal forward with the next steps without having to recover old ground. You want to, when a decision's been made, you want to make that decision, you want to document the decision, and you want to move forward. If they want to go back and change the decision, that's okay, but let's have a discussion about that. What we don't want to have is the deal sort of roll backwards because we didn't chuck the wheels with some documentation, and we find ourselves in the next meeting when you're talking about solution, and they're wanting to revisit the overall concept, or they want to go a completely different direction. That's their prerogative to do that, but what we don't want to do is resell things that we've already got a commitment on. That's another reason why this letter can be really powerful, because maybe there were people that need to be involved in this decision that weren't in the room. So this letter might serve as a way for the contacts that you presented to or that you met with in discovery to communicate to the other people, other decision makers or stakeholders that were not included in the meeting, as to kind of where the direction this conversation is going. So it can be a valuable asset. You don't want your prospects selling your services or your solution internally without you. So this gives you an opportunity to sort of control some of that conversation. All right, you might even bring a copy, by the way. You might want to bring a copy of that document to the next meeting. So whenever people start to slide backwards on you and start wanting to ask you to resell things that have already been agreed to, you can just pull the letter. Hey, why don't we look at paragraph 3? This is what we talked about last time. Here's what you told me your decision was. Do we need to change that? Frame it in terms of we need to make a change versus versus maybe they're approaching it like, I don't remember ever discussing that, and you find like you have to resell something you've already sold. And when I say sell, I'm talking about an idea. Gaining commitment may be a better way to put it. All right. So, wow, that was a lot of information. Hopefully people got a lot out of this. Who got a ton out of this? If you wouldn't mind, go into the comment section there and let me know if this was on point, this was what you were hoping to get today. That would be really useful for me. If you have any specific questions about what we do or about the content that I shared with you, put them in the chat, and I'll take a look at those, and I'll try to answer some of those questions for you. In the meantime, while you guys are doing that, I'll just share with you a little bit more about our company and what we do for our clients. Really, we're about building inbound and outbound marketing strategies that ultimately build sales pipeline for our customers. We're not your typical digital marketing agency. Really, we focus on making the cash register ring for our clients. So that's why I describe us as a sales and marketing agency. We really take a growth-minded approach to marketing. And so we do that with just a few of the services that we offer. Cold calling as a service. Really, that's outsourced sales development. We do that and have done that for 12 years. We'll run email outreach programs, both cold and email nurturing programs, like newsletters. We can do paid advertising. We'll do paid advertising, both social media as well as Google paid ads, content marketing, blogging, infographics, guest blogging, social media management, everything that's involved in content we can help our clients with. Inbound lead qualification. Some of our clients do a great job of generating leads. The challenge is there's too many unqualified leads for the sales team to really take seriously. So we can step into the gap there, manage that inbound lead flow, fully qualify the prospects and turn those into qualified sales meetings, and then hand it off to the sales team. And then, of course, we can run webinars and do digital events. We do those for clients every day to help them become a thought leader in their industry and with their customer base, as well as employ strategies that will turn webinars into real leads that can be actioned for the sales team. All right, so let's see if we have a few, any questions. Questions here. All right, so there was a comment. I love the framework. Perhaps you can throw in an actual call and how you actually use the framework. All right, that's a great suggestion. I tried to give like some real language throughout the course of the presentation. You could probably stitch together some of that language, and you'd have really the meat of what you would want to present in one of those real calls with the prospect. But I think it's a great suggestion. Maybe that's something we can do as a follow-on video to this, where we sort of role play out one of these calls, or even show. Probably wouldn't be able to show a live call due to confidentiality, but maybe we can role play out what a typical call might sound like. So that's a great suggestion. Thank you for that. No, it looks like maybe that's the only question I've got at the moment. So with that, I will leave you guys to go about your day. So thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure getting the opportunity to meet with you. If there are additional things or additional questions I can ask, my email address was on the previous slide, as well as right here. So my address again is mike@prosalesconnection.com. And again, if you want that job aid of the discovery question document, it's a couple-page document with, again, over 35 really powerful discovery questions that you can use as inspiration to creating powerful questions that will work for your specific business. Just send me an email. Just put combo in the subject line, and I will get that document over to you right away. Thank you so much for your time and participation and attention today. We love helping our clients build growth strategies, and a big part of that strategy is helping our clients lead great discovery meetings. When we set up meetings for them, we want to know that they can go in there and really knock it out of the park. If you follow the framework that I've outlined today, I think you will find that your discovery meetings will be much more effective and more efficient. You'll get more deals into the pipeline, and ultimately more deals closed. So thank you again for your time. It was a pleasure. This is Mike Faherty with ProSales Connection. Thank you so much. Have a great day.